And welcome back to College Football Tradition here on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, and we are now on YouTube. This is Jacob Vandeford, my bro host and co-host. I'm Bryan Partika. We are so excited to be back with y'all. We are halfway through July. Well, not really. We're like a third of the way through July. But we got some things to talk about. We got some teams that we're high on, some teams that we're low on. And I know that we have a big Nebraska fan on the podcast, and he has to give me his thoughts right now and give the audience his thoughts on Scott Frost's comments about the Nebraska job when he was asked at Big 12 Media Days for UCF. What were your thoughts on his response to his time at Nebraska?
Boy, oh boy, where do I even begin? I feel like on every CFB Tradition episode, I just go like in on Nebraska football, on like somebody like remotely related to Nebraska. And that's okay. That's what makes our podcast so awesome, I think, is when I just lay into Nebraska somehow. Um, so yeah, I wish we could like put in a cut in of like the snippet from the Big 12 Media Days interview with Scott Frost, because it's so the epitome of Scott Frost. Okay, so like for context, for those who don't know, Scott Frost was a quarterback for Nebraska in the 90s, won the 1997 national championship with Tom Osborne, had a famous speech about how like Tom Osborne was one of the greatest coaches in the country, and like how they deserved the national title because at that point in time you could share a national title. And so I can't remember if they were sharing with Michigan or
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was Michigan. But yeah, so at that time you could share, and they wanted it to be full on like Nebraska. So that's like one of the famous speeches. You can look that up. There's so many like great like quarterback videos of Scott Frost that are just amazing. Like he was a great quarterback, but not so much a coach. So that's the context I'm gonna give for those who don't know Scott Frost. Fast forward to when he comes in, coaches at Nebraska. So after the whole Mike Riley experiment, that was just not a
That
good match.
was, I forgot
Uh,
about that. I forgot about the era between Bo Pelini and Scott Frost. And thank you
yeah,
for
it was
reminding
very
me of that.
short-lived.
Yeah.
Um, but you know what's wild about Mike Riley? Even though like he had that one good year, I forget what year it was, but they had Tommy Armstrong at quarterback, they had Amir Abdullah, and they won 7 straight games. And I think they were ranked like number 7 going into play like I don't know, Wisconsin with like Russell Wilson. You can fact check me on all this. I'm just remembering like off the top of my head. But even like throughout that whole experiment, like he still won over the average of 500. He was above 500 in the games that he won. Scott Frost was not. I need to look up his actual record, but over the 3-4 years that he was here, like did not win above 500 in his average. And over the course of Nebraska football history, whether it was Bob Devaney, Tom Osborne, Bill Callahan, Bo Pelini, Frank Solich, Mike Riley, Scott Frost, not Matt Rule. Uh, Matt Rule still has some stuff to prove, but Scott Frost is the only coach to lose more games than he won. Every other coach, even as much as Nebraska fans hated Bill Callahan, which I did too, that was just a terrible era. He still won over 500. He was a great recruiter.
Oh, they
So
hated Bo Pelini too.
he has a few good qualities. Yes, Bo Pelini. Everybody did not like Bo Pelini because of his personality and antics and all these things. But he still won consistently 9, 10 games per year. So I'm coming towards the end of my rant. All that to say, like Scott Frost said at Big 12 Media Days that basically like don't take the wrong job when asked like what went wrong at Nebraska. I should have started with that, but I was just like, oh, I need to talk about this.
I think
Um,
most people who are listening in July to college
they,
football,
they should probably know.
they're probably aware of that. Yeah.
I hope we get just like some random listeners that are like, ooh, college football. Let's like hear about it.
Hey, I love that. We welcome you too. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the pod. But yeah, like it's frustrating for me because I'm like, well, let's think about this. You chose to come to Nebraska. I know like probably wasn't like a great fit at the time. You're at UCF, came off a undefeated year, beating Auburn in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. You're just like on this high of everything. And then you come to Nebraska, your alma mater, you think you can change everything. We thought it was an amazing hire at the time by Bill Moose, which that feels like decades ago that he was the athletic director.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, yeah.
but yeah, so it's just like it's just an interesting because I we all thought like this is going to be the hire, the magic is going to come back. He knows like what it takes to win at Nebraska, being a quarterback under Tom Osborne and all these things. He brought in like all of these famous Nebraska players like Jason Peter, Johnny Rogers, like all of these people to come talk to the team. Still didn't do anything. Like Adrian Martinez, we were like, oh, this is going to be like quarterback of the future. He's going to win the Heisman, all these things. He had some good moments. Still could not win above 500 in a year. So again, like all that to say, I'm just frustrated with that experience. I think most Nebraskans are sort of frustrated with Scott Frost and are hating him right now.
I
So
think that
hopefully
a lot
my
of people
team,
were rooting for him, I would
they
say.
were for
Yeah.
sure. So hopefully the team can come through this year and win a bunch of games and prove him wrong. And hopefully UCF goes down in flames. No, I'm kidding. I hope they do well. But also like not a fan of the comments. But I'm curious to hear what you think.
I mean, okay, so the don't take the wrong job. I kept seeing graphics about it, and I'm kind of thinking in my head, like, what was the full quote? What was the full thing?
Yeah, they take it out of context for sure.
I mean, a little bit, not much though. Nebraska fans, I think, do have a right to be upset. But I think what Scott Frost was talking about more, and I think back to his introductory speech back in December when he was named the coach at UCF. Was it December or January?
Yeah, something like that.
And he talked about, the on the climb, the road to success, you forget to stop when you're happy. And I kept thinking about that when he mentioned all this stuff that he was talking about on Big 12 Media Days, because he emphasized also at Big 12 Media Days the relationships he's had at UCF before leaving for Nebraska. And he didn't want to leave UCF, and he felt pressure to return to Nebraska. And I would understand that. If I was a big time college football player and my alma mater came calling and they needed someone to come save the day and I won a national championship there, I would feel a lot of pressure. He probably felt
Yeah.
pressure from the athletic director for sure. The boosters, absolutely. Probably the fan base. I mean, he was a hot commodity, not just for the Nebraska job, but for a couple other Power Four jobs as well at the time. And he also talked about how it wasn't a good fit, which it wasn't. And even though the Nebraska job is a good job within college football, it's obviously not a good job for everybody in college football. And I
No.
also don't think it's not like some of those other jobs you see. Like, I do think most people can succeed at Alabama. I do think that most people
Yeah.
can succeed at Ohio State. And I feel that way about a few programs. But when it comes to Nebraska, I initially, like you mentioned, all these coaches who were above 500. It's a place where most people are set up to succeed, but that's not how it worked out. And it was the wrong job, I think, for him. But really frustrating for Nebraska fans, indeed.
Yeah, well, like it's a blue blood program. Like people, I think
Oh.
you want to talk about this?
I would have
Five
said that
national
10 years,
championships.
10 years ago. I would have been like, yes, absolutely. But no BCS titles, no
Okay,
playoff
yes. I
appearances.
think currently you're not going to put them as a blue blood, but when you're talking about the grand scape of college football over the decades and decades, I think it's got to be up there.
How many teams do you consider to be a blue blood of college football? Like 5, 10,
I mean,
15?
I feel like we got to have a whole podcast for this now because now I got to
Me too.
prepare. But
Me too.
like Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, um, those are the main ones. USC, obviously.
Mm,
Gosh, what
yeah.
others? And then I think Nebraska's right up there.
So we're putting 7, 8 teams up in that
Yeah,
area.
yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Is LSU?
Maybe Tennessee. I just because they have what, two, three national championships?
Not enough for me.
No.
Yeah. LSU, 3 in our lifetimes.
Maybe.
Maybe. Just the inconsistency.
I feel like you have to have at least four national championships to be like even in consideration.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely. But I also feel like you have to win in different eras, which is something that
That's
Nebraska.
true that we have not done.
I mean, it's so crazy that 97, that last national title year, the year after was when the BCS started. and they had some good teams, but they never got the job done.
Yeah. I mean, like Eric Crouch won the Heisman in 2001 and they were in the national championship against Miami, but like that Miami team was a buzzsaw too.
They were really good. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
Nebraska is definitely squarely a top 10 program all time. And if that's where we're saying blue blood is, yeah, yeah, they're there.
I mean, that's what I'd say. Well, I want to circle back to what you were talking about with like most coaches don't want to come to or may not want to come to Nebraska because it is a hard place to coach. I think that is
Nowadays,
true
it is
nowadays
nowadays.
for sure because like I mean, I'm example number one. Like most fans are like me and like are diehards and like are going to be upset at every little thing that happens. Like the more and more we lose, the more upset we're going to get. Also like I think just over time, you have to be able to build up the program. Like Alabama has been a consistent winning school over the years. Recruits are going to want to come to a school like that has won that many games over time. Like Michigan, they had a standstill for a bit. Jim Harbaugh came in and built them up. I'm hoping that's what Matt Rule can do. Like Ohio State, I feel like they were down a little bit, but they've consistently been good and recruited well. It seems like all those SEC schools. Like, so I think you just have to prove that you're a winner. And if that's what Nebraska can do, if they can prove that they can win this year, I think that will really impact the way that they continue to build the program. But again, like I think just coaches want to go to a school, like you said, Alabama, like that's a school that you can just go in and automatically win because they've been winning for so long.
Yeah, and Ohio State's a model of consistency as well. And I think it's easy to win at Penn State. I think it's easy to win at Michigan most of the time. Yeah, yeah, but I agree with you. I think Matt Rule has a big job ahead of him. This is a big year for him. You and I are both high on Nebraska. And
Yeah.
speaking of teams that we're high on, I mean, we're gonna touch that later in the episode. But we definitely wanted to make sure that we hit on some realignment news within the group of five. Is that
Yeah.
Texas State is now leaving the Sun Belt. They're joining the new Pac-12. They're going to be joining with all those Mountain West schools that are leaving the Mountain West. Some schools are remaining in the Mountain West, and they're trying to rebuild that conference. But Texas State, they are going to be the new members of the Pac-12. So a pretty interesting conference, but one that I think could be pretty relevant. I don't know how much of an upgrade it is from the Sun Belt. I mean, it is. It must have been to leave and to be traveling farther for your games. But what are your thoughts on the Bobcats and San Marcos now going to be in the Pacific Coast Conference?
I think it'll be interesting. I'm curious if like the Pac-12 reached out to anybody else like within the region that was like curious, but I just don't know if there's like any other schools that like were like prominent enough to transition to the Pac-12 that aren't already in other conferences.
There's
I think
not
it's a
much
good
teams
move.
left. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good move for sure for Texas State. Like I think the Pac-12 has been a relevant conference for quite some time. Now a lot of the schools are leaving. You still have like Oregon State and Washington State there. But like Boise State being there now. I think there'll be some competitive games. If you think back, like last year, Texas State, I feel like Texas State is usually a bowl eligible team. And also last year they almost beat Arizona State. That would have,
Last year was their first bowl win, I think,
oh,
wasn't it?
really?
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
thought that, yeah. Well,
They've
it's
had a couple
last
seasons
year.
where they've been like on the cusp though.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
mean, yeah, that's kind of where their program has lied.
Don't they had a new coach that came in, didn't they?
Uh, who is the? Oh shoot, someone who's been there, maybe a year now. I
Okay.
don't know. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Um, but yeah, you're right. The brand of the Pac-12 is I guess what prompted a lot of those schools to move. It prompted the TV deal, which is still very insignificant compared to the Big 12 and the ACC's TV deal. I know the Pac-12 was courting Memphis. They were talking Tulane, USF. I don't know what's happened with that going forward. I can't really see. I don't think USF would do that. To be honest with you,
I just
I would
like
be
kind of
shocked if
hate
Tulane
that.
would. I hate that too. I hate that. Yeah.
Because when I think of Pac-12, I think of the Pacific Coast, and I think of like all of those schools along the coast, and even like you can go in towards like even like Colorado, but I think that's like Colorado should be like the tipping point to me of like what should be the Pac-12 regionally. Like I wish conferences would go back to the regional teams. Like if you like Florida playing like Oregon, like some places like yeah, USF or like Tulane, even Memphis, like those to me just aren't Pac-12 teams. I guess like I would get used to it over time if it actually like was a thing,
Yeah.
but now just thinking about it, like I don't see Memphis playing like Washington State. That's just not.
I,
That might be like a
no.
bowl game I could see, but like I just
I
don't
don't see it
see
either, but
that.
maybe adding Texas State is kind of like a little incentive for some
Maybe,
of those
yeah.
other, like Memphis and USF and Tulane to me are like the last major moves that I think a lot of these conferences can make as far as programs go. Memphis for sure, but maybe Texas State is acting as kind of like a bridge, because if you added Memphis and Tulane and USF and you had an 8 game conference schedule, but between those 4 schools, USF, Memphis, Tulane, and Texas State, if they had a agreement where they were always playing every year in conference, then really 2 of your away games would be at one of those schools within that little 4 team region. But then your other 2 away games within conference would be going out to the coast. So you wouldn't be traveling that much if they worked it out that way. So maybe that way Texas State is acting as kind of like a bridge program for some of those other schools. But I don't know. It's still a big leap to me.
Yeah, and I also think about like the other sports outside of football. Like so often we just think about football, but like basketball, baseball, like all these different things, they would be traveling all over the place. Although like some conferences, like I know like I'm trying to think of a team off the top of my head that like so like some conferences will have like some teams will be football, for instance, will be in like
Mm-hmm.
Conference USA, and then like the rest of the teams might be in like I don't know the Sun Belt or something like that. Like so
Yeah.
I wonder if that will be more of the norm now, or if most of the sports from each specific college will just align to one conference. I don't know.
Well, it's going to be tough because, like, when Northern Illinois left the MAC for the Mountain West, they're in the Mountain West for football, but the MAC was like, you can't just stick around for all your other sports. So
Yeah.
Northern Illinois had to join the Horizon League for all their other sports, like track and basketball and volleyball and all those types of sports, baseball and stuff like that. So they're only in the Mountain West for football. So, like you said, but then Northern Illinois, that kind of is a little bit of a it's kind of even the Horizon and the MAC when it comes to a lot of sports.
Yeah.
But I mean, you might have to make some compromises with your other leagues to really see what you could get. I don't know what exists for Texas State now that they're in the Pac-12. I don't know who's going to come calling and be like, oh yeah, you could house your other sports with us. I don't know just where they're at geographically.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how everything else plays out with conference realignment. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's been happening, and I mean, talking about like Ohio too, transitioning into the Sun Belt, I believe it was. That's
Yeah, talks, rumors of
interesting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on. Yeah, Ohio reportedly reaching out to the Sun Belt to get preliminary talks in about joining that league, which I think when we're talking about those MAC schools in Ohio, the MAC is on a terrible TV deal. And I mean, weeknight action is awesome for us, but they make significantly less money than the Sun Belt Conference schools, which is sad because you look at the MAC, it's a lot of schools that have been in the FBS a long time, and those schools have been in that conference a long time. But you look at the Sun Belt, Marshall, they were an FCS program for a long time. James Madison was, App State was, Coastal Carolina was, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. All those schools that are in the Sun Belt, a lot of them, most of them, were FCS programs long before like the MAC. So it's just kind of interesting that the MAC isn't sustaining itself and the Sun Belt was able to kind of come out on top of this whole situation. And it looks like they're going to continue to be more popular of a conference.
Well, I'm curious, like what conferences do you think will sort of be forgotten over time? Like inevitably, I feel like we're only going to have so many conferences. Like some of these conferences will just totally go away, possibly. So like obviously like ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, like those are staying for sure. But like I don't know, like Sun Belt, MAC, like do you think any of these conferences will just fully disappear?
I don't think so, just because what for Gonzaga, they moved into the Mountain West, and Grand Canyon, they moved into the Mountain West as well. That was announced recently. And obviously, these schools don't have football, but it made more sense for Gonzaga to move from the West Coast Conference to the Mountain West because of the Mountain West brand. And I think with schools, if they leave the MAC, it's going to be relevant for those schools in the Missouri Valley Conference of the FCS to maybe move into the MAC because it's a bigger brand. So I don't think the conferences are going to go away. Pac-12, the brand must have meant something because they only had 2 schools left and they still made it out alive. I thought that they were dead in the water. And in
Yeah.
many ways, they still kind of are. But I think that those brands are going to remain. They're just going to look a lot different. And then the lower level brands are going to continue to move on up. But I think the Sun Belt's going to come out strong. Obviously, the Power Four is going to come out strong unless there's some type of merger. Pac-12, Mountain West is going to be a shell of itself. Conference USA, they get poached all the time.
Yeah.
That I don't know what to
It just
say.
seems like a stepping stone, Conference USA. Like I'll be there for a couple years and then hopefully somebody will beckon and I'll join like the ACC at some point or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of schools that have been in Conference USA. It's astonishing. You should look into that. Yeah. Well, where do we want to go from now? When teams that we're high and low on for the season?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, cool. All right. So I got a couple teams that I'm high on, and we are releasing our predictions throughout the summer on team by team predictions, conference predictions, standings, things like that. Jacob and I each made our own predictions for the year. What are some teams in the ACC that you're high on that maybe people don't expect? Everybody's expecting Clemson. They returned the most production in college football. They made the playoff last year. They competed well with Texas, I thought, in that game. But I aside from Clemson, who are you high on? Who are you low on?
Yeah, so there's a couple teams that I'm pretty high on. One of the teams is Georgia Tech, oddly enough. I just feel like they're returning a lot of production. They did lose Eric Singleton Jr., who is a star wide receiver who I believe transferred to Auburn. But they're bringing back Haynes King, who I think should be top of the list in terms of people that and he's sort of a sleeper for it, but people that we should be looking at for the Heisman. He can run it, he can throw it. He had a great year last year, played really well in that first game. I ended up watching against Florida State. Florida State didn't end up being that great last year, but still very impressed by that. And then playing Georgia at the end of the year, that went into what, like 4 or 5, 6 overtime, something, I don't know, something like that. Um, and yeah, just played extremely well. So like I'm really high on Georgia Tech. I think Brent Key is one of the best coaches, young coaches in the country right now, and he's coaching for his alma mater, which also is really cool. So I'm excited to see what Georgia Tech can do. Obviously, like Miami, I think will be really really strong this year. Carson Beck transferring over, Mario Cristobal, staying around as head coach. I
I'm
think they're
actually down
always.
on Miami.
You are.
Yeah,
Okay,
down
okay.
on
Well,
Miami.
hey, let's hear it. What's going on?
Oh my gosh. I mean, they lose a lot of talent from last year's team. I think the schedule is what's hard for me with Miami this year.
Okay, okay.
Like last year, if you went 10-2 last year with the number one overall pick, you had Cam Ward, who was a Heisman Trophy finalist. And now, like this year, the schedule is very, very difficult. You play Notre Dame. Florida is not going to be easy. Florida State's going to be better than they were last year. Louisville's tough. I'm high on Louisville. We'll get to that in a moment. You do play Syracuse. You travel to SMU. NC State's not easy. Virginia Tech's not easy. Pitt's a sleeper. And you go to Pitt to end your year. You don't want to do that if you're Miami. You don't want to go to Pennsylvania in late November. So I'm very down on Miami. I think that they might be a 7-win team.
That's fair. I have them losing to Notre Dame and SMU, and that's it. I think they could lose to Florida too, but all the other teams, I think they'll edge out. But we'll see what happens. But
Oh
yeah,
my
I am also pretty high in Louisville. Like I have them 9-3 in my schedule. Like I think they'll be a good team too. So I agree with you. I think there's definitely opportunity for them to lose more games.
Yeah, I like Louisville this year because number one, Kentucky is down. That always helps Louisville. Miller Moss at quarterback. I really, really like him. I liked him at USC. I was surprised that he is not there for this season. If you would have told me that in September, late September of last year, I would have been like, what are you talking about? But Louisville, they have a guy. They're bringing back a lot of talent. from a team that was pretty decent last year. I like the schedule, and I'm calling it right now. I think that Louisville Clemson game, I think that is going to be on College Game Day. I think both teams go into that game undefeated. I mean, I'm just looking at the schedule, just looking at who Louisville has. I just don't see them losing before that.
Yeah, that's
Outside of
fair.
maybe Pitt, yeah. Mm.
I I don't know. I also sort of like Duke, with
Okay.
like the new quarterback coming in, Darren Mensah. Like I think that he could provide some firepower there. They're always usually like one of the teams that they're kind of like sticking around, like 8-4, 9-3 win seasons. So I think they could have a good year too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Duke's a good one. They have to travel to Tulane. Darian Mensah return game.
yeah, that'll be fun.
Is that a revenge game for him or a revenge game for the 40 or 50 players that he left at Tulane?
Probably Tulane.
That's
I
a
think
good
like him
game.
leaving is definitely like a shot in the dark. Like, wow, nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for leaving us. Teams that I'm down on in the ACC, definitely like Virginia. I don't think that they'll be that great. Sorry, Cavalier fans. Um, I don't. I mean, I don't think Stanford's going to be that great. I also have Syracuse losing a lot of games. Unfortunately, I really like, they had a great year last year, but losing like Kyle McCord and a lot of the talent like that, I think that's gonna hurt them. But yeah, those are a few of the teams that I'm sort of down on.
I'm also down on Syracuse. I'm definitely down on Stanford. I'm also down on Cal. With they lost their running back to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Ought and but
Lost their wide
Syracuse.
receiver to Nebraska.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, that's right. Oh my
Isaiah
gosh,
Hunter, let's go.
that's great.
And then who Fernando Mendoza, I think, where did he go? Their
Oh,
quarter.
is he at Notre Dame?
He might, oh wait, Indiana, I think.
Oh yes, sorry,
Yeah.
Indiana.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, he's at Indiana, which could be good. That could turn out well. But
Yeah.
Syracuse, kind of down on them. They are recruiting very well for the next cycle, but people are kind of being like, "Oh, Fran Brown's building something." He is building something. I love what they did with Kyle McCord last year. Last year, I predicted them to win 11 games. They won 10. If I believe if you include the bowl game,
Yeah.
so they had a great year. I'm very happy I called that, and they returned a lot of talent. But this year, they lose a lot of talent. They lose Kyle McCord. They lose a lot of offensive production. The recruiting is good going forward. That's a good program. They're headed in the right direction. But if they go 3-9, 4-8 this year, I wouldn't sound the alarm bells, and I wouldn't say that about many other
No.
programs. I
It's a
really wouldn't.
tough, tough schedule. Like if you look at that schedule, that is a gauntlet.
I know, like UConn is not easy.
No. I'm
Who
actually
am I
really high on
ranked?
UConn this year. Like we can talk about that in a bit, but like I think they'll be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think UConn will be a lot of fun to watch. I think that they could win 9 games again. I mean, the schedule's set up for it. I think that they will probably lose the ACC games that they play, not because they can't compete in the ACC, but because the ACC games that they have to play, Syracuse, who could be good, who could be okay compared to UConn, is what I should say. They play Duke and they play Boston College, who's another one of those cusp teams. But everything else, very manageable. I mean, Delaware, Ball State, I don't think is going to be good. UAB, Rice will be tricky, but I don't think that they'll be good. I mean,
Um,
Air Force, as far as the academies go, they're the most down right now after last year. So I think UConn can win 9 games again. I really do.
yeah. Should we transition to the Big Ten?
Yeah, let's transition to the Big Ten. Who are you high on and low on in the Big Ten?
Ooh. All right. I might get some heat for this, but I have Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State all winning 11 games, which probably won't happen. But here's my rationale behind it. Ohio State, I have them losing to Texas, that's it. Oregon, I have them losing to Penn State, that's it. And then Penn State, I have them losing to Ohio State, and that's it. So that's what I have there. Also, high in Nebraska, I have them losing to Michigan and Penn State. And then I like Illinois and I like Michigan. I think Michigan with Bryce Underwood at quarterback could surprise some people. Illinois bringing back Luke Altmaier. I think he'll be a star quarterback in the Big Ten. So those are a few of the teams that I'm liking a lot. I think Iowa is going to have a down year. I don't think they're going to make a bowl game this year. I
Ooh.
think Purdue is going to be like 3-9. Rutgers, I don't think they're going to be good. They lose Kyle Monangai, who was one of their biggest production players from last year.
In regards to Rutgers, real quick,
Yes.
it's like the Big Ten did not even consider them at all when it came to scheduling their games because
No,
that is a tough
it's
schedule.
awful. It's so
Washington,
bad.
yeah, Washington, Oregon, you get Purdue, but then Illinois, get Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State. Like it's like what? Like what are we doing
Yeah.
here? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the
Um,
Rutgers schedule is tough, and I think even if they're worse record wise, they might be a better team than last year. But it's the schedule, which is
it's the
so tough.
schedule.
Yeah,
Also, Wisconsin, like I don't think they're going to be that great either. So
is Luke Luke
that's what
out?
I got.
Is Fickle done?
I think Fickle's done. What is
Mm.
that? Two or three straight years of just not up to par for Wisconsin fans?
He has a lot of opportunity though when it comes to
Did
the
they
Alabama
fired
game.
what's his name? Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator.
Hmm.
They let him go. So hopefully they can have more offensive production this year. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. They need to get back to Wisconsin football, like big time
Run the
offensive line
ball.
guys, run the ball, strong linebacker play, strong defense, things that they didn't have last year. But there's a lot of prove it moments for Wisconsin. That's the great thing about being in the Big Ten West. I know divisions don't exist anymore, is that you have those rivalries. If you beat Minnesota, if you beat Iowa, like those are big wins in the program's eyes, in the eyes of Wisconsin. Especially with Minnesota, PJ Fleck now signed a deal through 2030. So that would be a huge win if you could get
Yeah.
that. You play Alabama. I think you play Ohio State too, right? They played Ohio State.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot of prove it games. If they are able to sneak a couple of those big time wins in, even if they are barely a bowl team, I do think that they need to be a bowl team though for Luke Fickle to not be on like the hot seat. But yeah, to secure his job, I think they need it. They need to go bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one. Mm. Yeah,
All
Big
right. What
Ten.
about you?
Oof, I'm down on Oregon. I think Dante
Really?
Moore is going to be a good quarterback in the future. He did sit behind Dylan Gabriel last year. I like that move. I think that they have a good defense returning, but last year they kind of skid at the end of the year. They let up Penn State score a lot of points on them. We obviously know what Ohio State did to them in the Rose Bowl. So Oregon, they were a team kind of on the decline as the season ended last year. I don't know where they're going to be at as far as headspace wise going into this year. Schedule, it's a typical Big Ten schedule in today's modern football. So there are some tough games. Penn State's going to be a really tough game. I mean, is it going to be the whiteout game at Penn State?
I think it might be. And then you think
Yeah.
about two-head monster at running back, Drew Aller coming back. Like it's tough.
I'm so high on Penn State. I think that they're an 11 win team, easily an
Yeah,
11 win
yeah.
team.
They
But
could
yeah,
beat Ohio
down on
State.
Oregon. They could. They could. They could. I mean, they have they should in terms of returning production. I mean, Ohio State's replacing everybody.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of
Wait,
them.
okay, with Oregon, who do you think that they lose to outside of Penn State? I'm curious.
Ooh, who did I have? I don't have my prediction up in front of me, but
Oh, that's
I
okay.
did have them losing. Oh my gosh, this is why. Because I had Luke Fickle saving his job, so I did have Wisconsin beating
Oh,
Oregon, and I believe I might have had Washington beating Oregon.
okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
can see that.
yeah. So there were a couple teams. But other than that, I mean, there are some tough games, and then there's some games that you just don't really know. Minnesota, USC, Iowa, Rutgers, Indiana. Those were all toss-up games. I mean, not. I mean, Oregon is going to be more talented going into them, but I think they're kind of toss-up games. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's our Big Ten. We do got a dip, but the next episode we will definitely get into Big 12. We'll get into SEC. We'll get into some of the teams that we are high and low on in the group of five as we get into prediction season, as we get into hot take season. Continue following us on the pod. I put out a trivia episode, so if you guys want to check that out, I'm curious. I need some feedback on it. Jacob and I are trying a bunch of different ideas this summer. So feel free to say this sucks, or feel free to be like, that's awesome. And we'll be with you as the season fast approaches. Jacob, anything before we close off?
No, I can't wait for the next one. I'll also be listening to your little trivia podcast that I'm very excited for that. It's gonna be great. Everyone go listen to it. But yeah, keep subscribing to our YouTube channel. Keep liking us on Instagram, X. LinkedIn, all the things. We're putting out a lot of great content. Keep following us because we're going to be big soon. I hope. Fingers crossed. Go CFB Tradition.
Heck yeah, CFB Tradition. Well, we will have merch for you guys soon, eventually.
Yeah.
But for Jacob Vanderford, I'm Bryan Partika. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.
Peace out.